Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you're having a fantastic day here. Happy Saturday to you. We're going to take another look here at Matic. It's been a few weeks since we've covered this last. Got a lot of requests from it recently. Also considered taking a trade yesterday. Wishing I had, but of course, how much further this is going to continue? This is essentially one of those questions we're trying to answer. And obviously, if it comes back down, what's that going to look like as well? So let's take a look. First of all, if you're new to the channel, not a financial advisor. I love teaching people to trade. I certainly hope you can learn something here today. So if you do, feel free to comment below. Let me know your thoughts. I'd be happy to hear from you. If you want to become a better trader, of course, CryptoCache.tech is a site, link in the description below. Feel free to check that out in your own time and effectively just see if you want to become a better trader. I have a trading academy community and signal group where I send out signals for every single trade that I take, and it's a really cool experience. So check that out. So here's where we're at with Matic. First of all, we obviously have a pretty large green candle last 24 hours. It took off yesterday. I believe there is some fundamental news. You might want to look into that. I believe there is something going on. I forget if it's a partnership or what, but I know that Matic had some fundamentals that caused the price action to push. Oftentimes with fundamentals, though, there is obviously a push and a sell-off, right? So is that sell-off going to happen? Is that going to continue? Well, a lot of times you can look at the volume and kind of try to understand that. We have much more volume in the last 24 hours than we do in the last, just say, full 7 to 10 trading days, but it's still not a lot of volume. So it really just tells us there's no selling pressure yet, and that could be a concern, whereas we might actually have hit the top already because we're retesting that previous resistance level at $1.01. Sorry, 102 if we were to round up a little bit. So 102. So for right now, the price is trying to breach that level and trying to figure out if it wants to go any higher. Well, we'll see if that's a possibility or not. Taking a look at the RSI, we're getting close to 70 on the RSI on the daily, so this is kind of an indication that we may see, I wouldn't say necessarily a reversal, but the likelihood of it breaking through 70 is fairly low. It takes a very large amount of volume to typically do that. So if we look back here, RSI broke above 70. Obviously, there's a lot of volume going into that. I don't see that happening, breaking that resistance level with the amount of volume we do not have, right? Again, we need more volume to effectively be able to maintain this price point. So there's that standard as well. Also want to look here at the MACD. This is a good sign. It is telling us that we might have a convergence here on the MACD daily. So again, that's not a guarantee it's going to happen, but it's setting up for that. So hypothetically, in most cases, when you have a MACD on either the 4-hour or the daily, it does signal a sign of shift in momentum, right? That shift of momentum coming up to this resistance level could very well work out favorably in a lot of ways, and we could very well see that break out to the upside. So again, there is possibility there. Just keep in mind we're overextended too, so we kind of have conflicting information, and the MACD in truth hasn't converged yet. We need it to essentially break that level before we can do that. So keep in mind we have some signs here telling us this is good, but I think the low volume and the RSI, those are more impactful than a MACD convergence. Okay, just throwing it out there as far as priorities are concerned, because I love my MACD, but it's kind of low on the totem pole for how awesome it is. Now, here's the cool thing. Obviously, we can see the volume increasing here, or having had increased. Obviously, it's dissipating now, but that is pretty standard when you come up to a key level resistance. That being said, nothing to concern ourselves with yet, but that is something we need to acknowledge, the fact that we're well over 70 on the RSI on the 4-hour. And commonly, when you're over 70 on the 4-hour, it comes back down fairly hard. Okay, so we take a look here, of course. This time it came up there, and it inevitably came down by a decent margin. So from top to bottom, corrected itself by about 17%. We could also argue the same thing here as well over here, whereas the price action came up and inevitably came down. And we're talking, days. This isn't instant, right? But 31% correction from Matic after RSI came up over 70. So again, I don't necessarily think that we're going to see a significant just drop, and it's not going to plummet per se, but it could retest some of these previous support levels at about 96 cents, 90 cents, and maybe 87. All right. So again, we're losing potential momentum there. That's something to acknowledge. And we also got to recognize that even though this volume is a lot compared to recent, it's not that much compared to these other previous increases where the price action really shot up there. So it really just implies there's no selling pressure, and that kind of reiterates the fact that we have that fundamental catalyst pushing the price action up. So a reversal to me makes the most sense here. I'm not saying you should necessarily try to short this, but it feels like it might get rejected once more, because we could argue that this is like a really ugly cup, and potential of a handle pattern might be coming. So again, one of two schools of thought. You could short on the way down to about 96 cents, or you could essentially go long at 96 to the upside when it comes back down to retest that. Again, that's if that happens. There's no guarantees on that, but it just kind of feels like it's shaping up for it. Because again, that low volume, even though it's more than we're used to, is still not enough, in my opinion, to sustain this price point. Even though I'd love to see it continue. So if it does continue, keep this in mind. We also got to recognize this as well, is that we are at a 7 on TD sequential. So typically when you're at a, just say a 7, 8, or a 9 on TD sequential on the 4 hour, you'll usually see a reversal. Now, if you look back here, we had almost a reset and it came back up again. So in truth, it could continue further. There's no doubt about that. We can't rule that out. But with us being at a 7, overextended on the RSI on both time frames, there's a handful of things, especially with us testing this resistance level, a lot of reasons why the price action may turn around. Okay, I would say just more reasons it'll turn around than it will continue higher. Because again, with trading, you never truly know. Like, this could just go balls to the wall further from here. But the fact that we have, again, low volume compared to previous patterns, this is a weekend, for example, so profits are going to be taken likely in the next 24 hours. We need to kind of recognize the big picture here. It's not necessarily an elephant in the room, but it is definitely something just to recognize and acknowledge. If we take a look here as well, we can also see some significant overextensions. Previously, it came up to a 9, came back down. We're at a 9 here, and it really hasn't done much correction at all. So again, could continue by all means. Yes, we can see consecutive 9s on TD sequential and the hourly. It happens all the time. But this is, again, extremely overextended. RSI is well over 70 as well, even on the hourly. So it just kind of tells us that we're at this position where the price action will maybe have to turn around soon. So here's the bottom line. If the price doesn't turn itself around in the next 12 hours, it would probably be a decent shorting position. Okay. In other words, we have this lagging span here kind of telling us that we want to leave our position open if we have one, right? A long position. But if this does end up intersecting and we still haven't broken this resistance level, the likelihood of it continuing lower from there is pretty high. Right? Because again, it's losing that momentum. It does have tremendous amount of momentum, don't get me wrong, but if it takes another 12 hours and this price just goes sideways, the likelihood of it going down from up there is higher. Again, marginally higher, but still higher. We're above the cloud as well, so of course I typically don't recommend a short position while you're above the cloud. So again, I would exercise caution if you were to consider shorting on the way down. But it could be a viable option if we get confirmation here soon that the price action cannot break that level, and it could once again become a handle pattern, whereas the price action comes down and back up again. I'm looking forward, honestly, to the price action coming down and getting in once more. Again, pending Bitcoin doesn't do anything stupid and obnoxious tomorrow. So to me, I want to kind of wait until, I would say, Monday, the traditional trading day is open, to kind of see what's going to happen next before I take a trade. Again, that's me being conservative. You can do what you want. Just make sure that you are careful and cautious, and just note that this is fairly overextended, but it does still have more room to run. Okay, so again, it seems kind of contradictory, but I would say overall, in the general sense here, if we're to kind of take everything from every time frame and extract a big picture, we are looking at a likelihood of the price action reversing before it increases once more, right? But again, we do also have to acknowledge, and this is something that's important to recognize, when we break a resistance level, which it retested multiple times in a row, it's more likely to run, okay? But keep in mind, it could also, and very well likely, retest this level too, because it's very standard, very normal for a key level resistance to be broken and for it to retouch or retest that level. So I would not be surprised if we see a retest 96 before it takes off again. That's probably what's going to happen, but again, there's definitely no guarantees. So I hope this made sense and I explained this correctly. Obviously, if you want to become a better trader, CryptoCache.tech is a site, link in the description below. Once again, apologize for the audio quality. I am traveling right now for another week or so, so just keep in mind it's not the usual stuff. But either way, appreciate all your support and thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.